Well, hello again, guys. So we are going to try to continue to make progress on the 48 Fleetmaster behind us. Last time we got the rear end, the torque tube and the drive line all buttoned up, ready to go back in. I wanted to dig into the transmission so that we could, proceed forward. But I decided no, we need to look into the engine and see what's going on here, just in case we need to haul it off and get some work done. It might as well be getting worked on while we're working, right? So let's look at what we got. Okay, I believe when we pulled it out, I went over the numbers a little bit with you, probably just on the distributor deck there. Casting date H26/4 August 2654. We have a Y as the last digit on our distributor stamping there, which indicates that this was hooked to an automatic transmission, typically means a little higher horsepower. Our casting number down here, 383-5911, indicates that this is indeed a 235 from 1955. Then up top we check out the head number, 3835913, and that indicates the exact same thing. So these are still a match set block and head from 1955. Now most guys, if they are indeed looking for a Stovebolt Chevy to put in their project vehicle, which is unlikely anymore, they will tend to look for something from the later 50s, even into the early 60s, when production ceased on this style of engine, because they were modernized, with bearings and so forth. But we aren't most guys, right? So this is going to be just fine. Actually, when we picked this vehicle up, and I drove it up onto the trailer, mechanically, it seemed to be just fine from what I could tell. But the tune was so bad and the carburetor wasn't really working as it should, so it was just kind of hard to tell, to be honest with you. But yeah, as far as knocking or valve noise or anything, I really didn't notice anything like that. So, having said all that, let's dig in. Someone used one of these hold-down clamps, who knows where they got it from, laying around I guess, where I'm pretty sure it should just be a thick washer down in there, because now I have no way of getting to my bolt head. I'm going to have to get a little creative, or, hammer and chisel, try to loosen that, if I don't just have to cut it out. Over here, looks like they used the nut off a toggle switch as their washer, so kind of interesting. pulled the thermostat cover off and it barfed on me. I mean, whatever. Holy mackerel! That works too. You've never done anything like that, right? Did you just see that? What? Where's the lifter? Wow. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Well, anyway. It really should have still been doing its job if it was under tension, except for the little, you know, when it's cold it may have been bouncing a little. Any of the others come undone? No. Well, this thing wasn't stuck down at all. Normally you kind of have to wrestle them off, you know? Come on. Ugh. Really not too bad so far. There's just a very, very slight ridge. It certainly looks like we need to probably take it in and get it cooked. There's so much junk in the water jackets. I mean, it's pretty bad, but I don't know. We'll flip it over, take the pan off, and see what we got going on in there. Might want to get all the screws out there, buddy. Now, I don't know that I consider myself an expert on much, and especially when it comes to the science of the internal combustion engine and the parts therein. But I know a lousy, and I mean a lousy camshaft when I see one. Let's see if I can get this in the sunlight here for you. It's going to be kind of hard to see, but they are actually dished, not domed. Here's the next lifter I took out, even dished even worse. It's got severe pitting. Wow. So I think one of the last things I'm going to do here today on this is pull my oil pump and everything pertaining to it out. And then I better be in contact with the owner. Otherwise it is going to be off to the machine shop and see what they say. Sometimes I would just continue pulling apart, plastic gauging bearings, saying good enough, you know, depending on the situation. That previous 48 was like that. It was very clean on the inside. Bearings were good. I forget if I took out some shims under the caps and tightened up the crankshaft just a little bit and so forth. But that one turned out great. We took the head in and got it reworked, and that was it. This one, very clear indication that it's been running low on oil at some point in its life, or had a lot of debris in it. This thing did have an oil filter on it, but that was, you know, they're very passive oiling filtering systems, so that doesn't always get everything out. So I'm going to pull my pump out, pull the plumbing off, get this little standoff off the third cap here, and that'll be it for now. I don't know if you'll be able to make it out from that distance, but indeed there are numbered stamps on the rods and the caps, which just makes it even more obvious that somebody's been in here, and not too surprising over this many years. So I guess I'll start popping them off. Wow! It seemed maybe a little excessive. Oh, wow. Come on now. There you go. No. Well, that feels absolutely terrible. Yeesh. Okay. Gonna rethink this. Well, that was short-lived. I would say through the years, the short years that this thing had been used after a rebuild, there's been too little oil, too much heat, too much dirt run through it. Journal, I can easily feel grooves and inconsistencies there, and the bearing material looks like a brake shoe rather than a bearing. So I'm just gonna snug this one back down, and we will stick with our original plan of taking it in, having them go through it, give me an idea of what it's going to cost. And we will go from there. Okay, I have loaded the Stovebolt up back there in the old 5-speed XLT. Don't know how I feel about going cross-country in a Ford. A guy just rarely does that kind of dangerous thing. I'm kidding. Anyway, what's XLT stand for? An extra large truck? Sounds good. Anyway, I am hauling it to my machine shop in Dodge City, so we will see you there. And here we are. Harry's Machine Works. Some of you old school hot rodder guys, especially if you were from around Kansas, you might remember the name Harry's Crankshaft. Been around a long time. Well, we are really fortunate the way things are turning out with our valve train here. Not that we can use these by any means, but this is all OEM from 54, I'm guessing, unless someone just put a GM one back in it through at some point in its life. But we have a GM 3836127. Now this thing is completely trashed. Yeah, you can get them reground and cleaned up and what's the black? It's kind of a lubricant for first startup. I can't remember what you call it. Anyway, you know, we got serious pitting, serious grooves on the fuel pump cam, serious problems. I just don't think this one would be a good candidate to regrind. And then, of course, our lifters are terrible. They are dished. This is one that obviously came apart on us. I was looking around online last night, and 54, it gets terribly confusing. We already looked up and determined that, yes, our block is a 54 with a Y code, which should mean power glide, right? But I challenge you to look into, I don't care if you go into the Melling catalog, you look on Rock Auto, you look on any website you like, and trying to find the correct camshaft for solid lifters, power glide, it gets just terribly muddied and confusing. Everyone is trying to say different things. That power glide should have hydraulic lifters, and so on and so forth, which may have been the case, certainly 55 and up or whatever, but a 54 block with power glide, with solid lifters, and nothing wants to match up with anything else. Anyway, called our machine shop, Harry's Machine, out of Dodge City. Used to be Harry's Crankshaft. They've been around forever. I said, do you have a book that can find this number? We got an original GM number, and see what you come up with. And he said, I think we even have a set of lifters on the shelf. So he just called me back. These are just under 1 inch across diameter, and that matches. And he measured, and they were 1.225, I think, overall length, and these are worn down 0.1 of an inch, actually. But we have the right lifters, a brand new set from the 60s that apparently Harry had from way back then. So we're getting good quality, US made aftermarket lifters off the shelf that have been there for 60 years. And then he called Elgin, and they said this is still a good number, crossover. And so tomorrow they're going to get brand new correct camshaft in. So hallelujah, they came through again, and we're going to get this thing going. Well, would you look at what finally arrived? What an exciting day. We have the old mill back for our 48 Chevy, the legendary, the venerable, the indefatigable, right? 235. I actually kind of forget. It's been so long, and I look at so many Chevy 6s throughout a year that I kind of forget exactly the details, the year this thing is out of, and all of that. But I believe, I'm going to guess, I'm pretty sure it was from a Power Glide model, so it was a little higher horsepower. 53 or 54. I know that's not exact, but I'm trying to cheat here. Anyway, I'm going to put it on a stand. I don't need the cherry picker taking up more room in here, so I'll get it on a stand and push that back out. And then we'll unwrap it and take a look. By the way, a lot of you guys have asked, well, not a lot, but some guys have asked where I get, what kind of things are these? Well, that's just a 1/2-inch eye bolt from any old hardware store. 1/2-inch coarse thread, which is what the head bolts are. And I believe it's even outlined in the shop manual from the 40s. You know, these things are woefully deprived of any hook points to remove and install an engine into a vehicle. And so they suggest getting that. I got them that long because then you can just pop out opposite corner head bolts with the cylinder head still installed, run those all the way down, and pull your engine out. I really need to get a second set that are at least half. You know, you could get them with just the threads that long and they'd be fine. Just for when I have a block, because they tend to bow on a guy a little bit. But anyway, that's what those are. And then at the bend, or at the termination of the eye there, I weld them shut just so those don't spread open over time. That's all that is. Now, before we can get too carried away here, I need to order camshaft, lifters, timing set, and oil pump. And that's kind of why I'm messing with this right now, is to double check what exactly I'm working with here. You know, if I was a true professional at making videos, I would just pretend or prepare myself ahead of time, right? But you're seeing real life down in the trenches here. So we're going to find out together what we got. Now, what I did, and per the machine shop's request, I delivered pistons, rings, and all the bearings to them along with the engine. Well, my next trip to town. And that way they would have everything they needed to know to get the job done. And actually we had the wrong mains, I think. You have two possible styles, one with the little dimple in the bottom of the main bearing, you know, or the two tabs. And I would assume it was an incorrect listing, parts listing or whatever, wherever I bought the mains online. It was the wrong style, but they modified them and that's fine. I see they also put freeze plugs or expansion plugs or whatever you want to call them yourself in there. You kind of have a layer of rust again, but that's okay. We're going to take care of that shortly. So get all our plastic off here and we'll take a look at what we got. I'm just taking some acetone. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea to do this with a wire brush, actually. Just cleaning off all the oil that they preserve the metal with on these things, and whatever surface rust or anything that is on there will wipe her down. By the way, I had a guy get on me for putting Permatex gasket maker on the plugs when I installed them. It's just, I think it's great insurance that it's going to seal up. Wouldn't you know it, a professional machine shop that does this every single day of their lives, that has been in business since like the 30s or the 1940s. Look at that. It's silicone, I think. I'd prefer Permatex, but you know, it's almost like guys that know what they're doing do that. I'm not saying you have to do it. I do it. I don't know why you bothered getting on me about that kind of stuff, but whatever. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, enough foolishness. It's a shame these things are completely internal and shall never be appreciated for what they are. These are old school, I believe I was already saying. These are RMCs, that's a Federal Mogul Corp. The owner, the manager, I don't know what he is exactly. He's the guy in charge of the machine shop. Said these have probably been on the shelf since the 60s. Which means they outdate him. You know, he's older than I am, and he's been working there around. These things have been on the shelf the whole time he's been there, you know. Probably since the 80s, the 70s. I don't know how old he is exactly. But anyway, US made lifters, high quality lifters. I'm presuming that these are originals. Like I said, they've lost 10 thousandths in height, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. But I got those today. Not cheap, not easy to find. There was over $100 set on eBay, used, but they look good, and a machine shop can, you know, clean them up for you if that's the route you need to go. You can find them. Parts houses, Chevs of the 40s, filling station may have them in stock. You're going to pay $18, $20 a piece. I paid $20 a piece for these, and these are going to last forever in how this vehicle is going to be used, right? And then, like I also was saying, he got me an Elgin camshaft made in USA. So it should be a decent quality, I hope. Part number E251-S, new camshaft. Even used camshafts that have been reground and recoated, as I suggested earlier, you're going to pay a bit for, but you can find them. You can find new ones. This is just kind of a special case where I had to find. There's a variety of options, and it is confusing. So this way, I knew I was getting what I needed, and yeah, this is just cool to find this. So looking forward to putting all this in. I also have a timing set on order. I have a oil pump rebuild kit on order, we'll go through that, where I got it and everything, because it was much cheaper. I need a water pump, and I need the camshaft thrust plate, because you're not supposed to reuse those. But anyway, we'll dig all that out, we'll figure all that out, and then we will start throwing this engine together. We gonna lose our ceiling, or what's going on up there? Anyway, now we're gonna take literally 5 minutes, and that can probably even include a break to get a drink. But we're gonna take 5 minutes and do a modification that I think is such a good one. I don't know what the engineers were thinking when they designed the front cover this way. I guess maybe they wanted you to use twice as many gaskets, so the parts department could sell something. But anyway, old school trick, especially among the hot rodders, the guys that use these engines in their race cars, so forth. We are going to make it so you can get the front timing cover on and off without having to drop the oil pan. So we got 2 holes down here in our front cap for our main bearings, and your bolts would come through and thread into this plate on the bottom of the timing cover. And yeah, you got to drop the oil pan down in order to take the timing cover off. Normally, not a big deal. This timing set is so bulletproof. You don't need to do that. If a guy wants to pull a cam, that would become a necessity, get the pan off. Pulling a cam, especially on a stock engine, typically not something you do. But I do actually find it quite annoying when I'm tearing one of these down and going back together to have to do bolts from the inside of the pan in order to get the timing cover on and off. So all you have to do, it's very, very simple. Get yourself 3/8 by 16 thread tap, and the holes are already, I can just show you. I've already done one. I've done nothing to these holes, mind you. It's as simple as that. Run a tap in and you're done. And then on your front cover here, you just want to take a drill and drill those two babies out to 3/8 or next size up. You want a 3/8 bolt to pass through it. Leave the extra thickness on there. It's not going to hurt anything. Get yourself a couple 3/8 by 3/4 or 1-inch bolts, and you're good to go. Plus, it really makes it feel like an old school hot rodder from the 50s, Now the holes in your front plate, they should already be 3/8 of an inch. Can test that. Yeah. Drill bit goes right through. Well, the time has come for me to install cam bearings here, and we're just going to go ahead and do this. Now again, this is a 54 block, and this is the large front diameter, the large diameter on the front cam bearing here, just for reference. So all 4 of these cam bearings are actually different. No 2 are the same, whether it be in size or in oil hole position or number of oil holes. So that's one thing to check, and indeed on the front label you got 4 part numbers listed, and they go in order there. Now I've taken the time and drawn out reference marks in Sharpie on the block and on the bearings. The ones that I'll be able to see, I've actually marked where the oil holes are in Sharpie as I'm installing them. If you just mark the holes that you may be able to see down on the bottom or in here, you're not going to be able to tell where you're at. You've got to mark the block and the outside of the bearing. The original removal and install tool would be really cool to have for one of these Stovebolts. You had an arbor for all 4 bearings, and it had a pull handle like they did on all their special tools, and you pulled all 4 at the same time and you installed all 4 at the same time. And a nice gentle press instead of, a hammer impact. That would be cool to track one of those down sometime, but sometime isn't today. So I need to go grab some oil real quick. Let's just see what we got on the shelf here. Just give it a little slickum. Got my bearings out of the way so I don't scatter those all over the shop floor. My lines go in here. And let's see where we're at. My lines are still lined up. I'm in line with that oil hole, and I'm in line with the one to the bearing there, to the main. So I'm going to call that a success. Move on to number 3. Gonna need a mirror to see that one. Actually, number 2 also, to double check them. I think I've got you to where you can see this. I can see it. Yeah, you can too. That one's got a clear passage there, and that one couldn't possibly be more dead center. So if a guy gets on eBay and you basically look for the cheapest cam bearing install tool, what was that? On there, that's basically what you got, and for what it is perfectly acceptable. I mean, if I was doing this every day, I probably wouldn't really care to care to own it, but from what I'm seeing so far, it's a nice complete set and should be pretty versatile. Like I said, this front bearing is much bigger, especially compared to the rear bearing. You can actually fit the rear bearing inside the front bearing. So we are going to do this. I have this set you can take apart. You can take your long extension handle and screw it out of here. It's just like 1/2 inch thread, and so I just put a bolt in there to strike instead of hitting the aluminum or whatever this is. I'm going to start flush. Actually, I'm a little shy of flush there. Come on. Take a look at my oil hole. Yeah, I can go at least a 1/16 of an inch farther. So we'll do that. Just go in baby steps. We're not trying to win any competition here. I don't know why this one is closer fit, I guess. Could go just a frog's hair farther. A balding frog's hair. Like he's got nothing left of a frog's hair, you know. Male pattern, what am I trying to say? Male pattern baldness on a frog. He's got no volume, right? Yeah. If the guy felt like it, he could go just a touch farther even. Where's my mirror? Yep, looking good. Okay, I put some oil on the cam journals and I test fit it, and we are looking really good. Anyone that would complain about that has got something wrong in the head. Yeah, so I'm going to pull it back out and we will proceed. Now we're going to move on to the crank, get that guy installed. They have modified, ground the little notches for the tabs in this more modern style. Bearings, like I said, the original would have been the style with the little dimples. And you can also see that they have shimmed it up with brass. Now I am perfectly satisfied that my machine shop knows what they're about. But if something goes wrong, I think we know whose problem it's going to be. So I am going to Plastigauge just to double check it. Whether or not I've already stated it, they ground the crank 10 under, and they added brass shims. So I'm very sure that they were checking and rechecking and got it correct, you know. But I just can't let it go undone. I think this plastic gauge has just about reached the end of its usefulness here, which is okay because once having used it, it'll be gone, right? This is 50 pounds. We'll end up going to 70 when we do our final installation, but this should be good enough to give us a good well, maybe I should go a little higher. It may squeeze just a little bit more. What do you think? Are you 50 versus 70 pounds? Are you still making those mains into perfect circles, or are you just stretching the bolt? We'll play it safe. All right. Two thousandths. Between 3 and 2. Same. Same. Okay. Looking good, as I said. We could certainly, if they were not making much of a squish there, we could certainly remove shims yet. But I don't think that's necessary. I'm going to clean all the plastic gauge off, and then I guess we can start installing this thing. Well, guys, I'm really sorry. I really, truly am. What you just saw was actually during the course of the last year, and now here recently we have really made gains on getting this engine back together. I have a good hour of video already made and edited and ready to go. We're going to break this up in some bite-sized chunks here, and that way I can get a little farther ahead on other projects, and so on and so forth. So I'm sorry it's not happening all at once, but I guarantee you it's coming, okay? And I will make it next week. The next video, you will see this engine get to this point, and then from there on we will be installing it, so on and so forth. So I really thank you guys for watching. God bless you. We'll see you on the next one.